Hello, it's Eric here, and so we are back after a couple of weeks of hiatus. And I've been watching a lot of iceberg videos recently. Iceberg. Somebody is trying to explain a theory. At a very shallow level, and then go all the way up to the very sophisticated level. Yeah. So they use the iceberg analogy, like for example, the shallow level of a theory is going to be at the top of the, at the tip of the iceberg, yeah. And then so they go further and further down, and then until they reach the bottom of the iceberg. That's where the most sophisticated level of the theory is going to be explained, yeah. And so recently I watched an iceberg video on the different paradoxes, yeah. And one of the paradoxes actually caught my eye. And the paradox is called the Kafka's toxin paradox. So I really encourage you to check it out. And but I find that the Kafka's toxin paradox has a very natural analogy to finance. Yeah. And the analogy is like this. Like for example, I let's say I hold a stock, yeah. So it is customary for a trader to cut loss at a certain level of percentage, yeah. Let's say for example, if the stock price drops more than 5%, then the trader will cut loss. That means he will sell the stock, yeah, without incurring further losses, yeah. So it is customary for a trader to say set the cut loss at 5%, And the paradox goes like this. And so let's say I have an intention, yeah. So I intend to cut loss at 5%, and it turns out that I will not cut loss at 5%, And so if I don't intend to cut loss at 5%, and it turns out that I will actually cut loss at 5%, yeah. And so that's the paradox. And in order to further understand the paradox, let me fill you in with some more details, yeah. And so the setup is like this. Yeah, so I have a stock and I set the cut loss at 5%. But if I actually cut loss at 5%, then the traders will jump into the market to prop up the market, and so therefore the price will go back up, so the market will rally. And so therefore, if I cut loss at 5%, the market will rally and the stock price will go back up. So therefore, I actually cut loss at the worst possible time, yeah. And so therefore, the logical action for me to take is not to cut loss at 5%, And then you may be asking, well, how do you know that the market is going to rally at the 5% loss? Well, let's say, for example, just set this as like an example, Let's say, for example, I know for sure that the market will rally at a 5% loss, yeah. So therefore, the logical action, the rational action for me to take is not to cut loss at 5%, So therefore, that's the first leg of the paradox. Remember, a paradox always has two legs. Yeah, the first leg is if I intend to cut loss at 5%, then I will not cut loss at 5%. That's the first leg. The second leg is the opposite. Yeah. So let's say, for example, I don't intend to cut loss at 5%. That means I take no action when the stock price drops more than 5%. Yeah. And so therefore, since I don't take any action, and so it's likely that the traders are not going to come in to prop up the market. So therefore, the market will continue to fall, and so therefore, my stock price will continue to go further south. Yeah. So therefore, I will keep on losing and more and more and more and more. So therefore, my logical action, my rational action, I should actually cut loss at 5%. And once again, you may ask, well, how do you know that the traders are not going to come into the market to prop up the share price? Well, let's say, for example, just say, for example, assuming that I know for sure that if I don't come in to cut loss at 5%, then no traders are going to come in to prop up the market, so the market will continue to free fall, and so therefore my loss will continue to go further and further south, so I'll lose more than 5%. Yeah. So therefore, the logical action for me to do is to cut loss at 5%. So therefore, that's the second leg of the paradox. If I don't intend to cut loss at 5%, then I will cut loss at 5%. That's the second leg of the paradox. So you put the two legs together. That means if I intend to cut loss at 5%, then I will not cut loss at 5%. If I don't intend to cut loss at 5%, then I will actually cut loss at 5%. So that forms the paradox. And yeah, I know the situation is a bit contrived, yeah, and so you have to make some unrealistic assumptions. But the general setting is, I think, it's acceptable, And so therefore, this situation is very similar to very reminiscent of Kafka's toxin paradox. Yeah. So I encourage you to check out the original Kafka's toxin paradox, and you'll see there's a slight analogy to this cut loss paradox. Yeah. All right. I'll see you in the next video. Bye.